Says the Maimon and the posik in the parsha Bayim Ashmini Yimel. Second. Posik says that in the 8th day is the bris. This coming Maimer will explain the idea of bris and the source of bris and all the different wonderful things about bris. He starts with a posik in Tehillim, Kapitel Yud Beis, Lamntzach al Hashminis. What was David HaMelech praising God al Hashminis? Al Hamila Shenitna Bishmini. He was praising God for the bris. What was the praising God? Because David HaMelech was in the bathhouse. He saw that he was naked from mitzvahs, and he remembered he has bris with him still. Nisyash vadaiti, like the Gemara says, also in Menocha. Daf mem gimel, and it's also in Shalmin and the Broches. Daf vashstein. What was he so excited about the bris? So he says, starts explaining the posuk says in our parsha Bayim Ashmini Yimel that the bris is on the 8th day and it's Deicha Shabbos. So we have to understand what's the idea of bris, that it's Bayim Ashmini, that it's Deicha Shabbos. Why is bris greater than Shabbos? And he explains, in order to understand that, we have to understand what is the meaning of Shabbos, what we say Kivei Shabbos, that the Eibishter rested from Melacha. What's the idea of Shabbos? And then we will understand why Milah is greater, etc. And he explains, because all the Lamentes Melachos, they're the idea of fixing. Take the Keachatzimeach to make food that a person could eat and make a bracha before and after and have kedusha, and after he eats, this gives him strength. Not only made a bracha while he was eating, but with the koyach of the food, he davens and learns and does mitzvahs. So when he says Hashem echod v'ohavto, he elevates the food. So we have with all the lamentes meloches, baking, cooking, fixing the food, making clothes, making a house. So these are all different things that through this a person lives. And through this he elevates the 288 sparks that fell in Shviras HaKelim. And he has to pick them up from behind Atzilus. Because Atzilus is Elamatik and it's fixed. But a person has to fix Biyah to elevate them. This is a person's Aveda in the 6 days of the week. Shabbos, you're not being mevared. But Shabbos is a higher Indian. The idea of eating on Shabbos is tzaddik echel seva nafshei. You're not fighting to be mevared, to take away the nitzutsis and elevate them. It's the 3 sudas of Shabbos by Yom HaShmini. It's tal, or it's 3 times tal that comes from Atika Kadisha, the dew. There's Kleis HaNefesh, there's Tainug. What is this? This is the male waters. Mayim Duchrin, that elevate the female waters. Everything that a Jew does during the week is Mayim Nukfin. Shabbos is the Mayim Duchrin. What the Eibishter gives Neil Matiko, that's the level of Ma. This, what a Jew soils and toils 6 days of the week, this is Ban. And Mayin Churin comes from the Ma that's Mevarer Ban. He said, after like the Gemara says, whoever works hard on Friday, he is Zeichet to the Geluim of Shabbos. As much as you're Mevarer Ban in the 6 days of the week, you get the male waters that come down. This is Pshat in the Pasuk Vayar, Elikim Eskol Asher Osa V'nitev Me'ed. He loved what he saw. That's why Vayechulu, there's all the greatness of Shabbos. This is the pshat in the pasuk. A person rests, trying hard to write something, and the seichel is working hard, and then when you rest, the seichel goes back to the source. Same way on Shabbos, everything you work hard goes back to Elam Atik. When you finish that, everything, Shabbos is not something that you work. Shabbos is the Amshoch Mayim Tchurin, the male waters in the world. This is Shabbos. A whole week, a person elevates from Biyah and Atzilis. And Shabbos, Atzilis shines in Biyah. Tekenois in the Maimen. This is much greater than Atzilis. This is why you say, Shenitna Bishmini. What's the pshat? It says, by all the Melochim, if you look in the Pashas Vayishlach, it says, Vayimlech Vayomes. He lived, he was a king, and he died. By the 8th king, Hadar, which is connected with the Sheder Sheftikin, there was no Sheder Sakeli. It's the level of Yishay Da'ak, there doesn't say. The idea of Vayimlech Vayomes, because it's the name of Ma. Ma, the way the Kabbalah says it comes out from the forehead of Adam Kadmein. And it's higher than Ma Ba'atzilis. Ma, that Atzilis already came down in the world of Tikkun. There's a sort of kind of tzimtzum. But Ma, from the higher Fanak, is higher than Atzilis. This comes down by Bris. This is Pshat, when we say in Pasuk Yos as it's Tzemach Tzedek, Keser Elim Milgav Irushim Ma'adirech Atzilis, that Ak is Keser Dechlolos, and this is Ma. This idea of Yisod Ak is called Raiva the Chol Raivin, the source of all that it's in is. Because Bria Salem was because the Eibishter wanted to create a world. But who created the beginning of the desire? Raiva the Chol Raivin, that's Adam Kadmon Chalagdum before Atzilis, and even Atzilis is considered Chochmah of Atzilis is like Asiya compared to the level of Ak. This is, he brings from the Tzemach Tzedek. This is explained in Terer Pasha Vayera and the Maimra Antu Chod V'lo V'chushpan Pasha Vayera. Chod V'lo V'chushpan is Keser. Because Chochmah from Keser is Yesh Miyayin, and it's explained in Eitz Chaim from that is that Atzilis is Chochmah and Adam Kadmon is Keser. That's why Shabbos could be anywhere. Because Atzilus could come anywhere, even though there's clip, because Atzilus is elmatik and it's fixed. And it comes down and be in Atzil and Asir, because it also has 10 spheres, so it could come down in the lower worlds. When it comes down in the lower worlds, there's Zelomazeh, there's Klippe, but still Shabbos could come down everywhere. Like the Gemara says, Avram Yotzem ben Yishmael, Yitzchak Yotzem ben Esau. And the Gemara says that the head of Esau is buried together with Yitzchak. Because Esau is Zod, the Klippe da Atziles. Even though they're in Bria, they could get chayes from Atzilis. So there could be Shabbos even in Klippus, because it's connected still with 10 spheres. That's why you say that Shabbos is Esarus and the Leila, Lefi Erech Yerasus Lusata. You work hard during the week. The more you work, you more you get. Because that's the male waters that comes the Erech, the female waters that you do a whole week. But there's a level of Isurus of the Leila that's much greater. Because Isarus of the Sata doesn't reach there. Because Lagabe higher than Atzilis, the Aveda, Satachtoinim is only again Atzilis. But in Ak is higher than Elomes, there is Bris. That the Orla, the foreskin, doesn't let the Gilivak come into this world. Shabbos will come down anyway. But that level of Yisoida cannot come down when there's an Orlam. This is what it says, and if not, you'll get cut off. Mila means to cut. Mila also means to reveal. In order, there should be the revelation of Ak. Even though it's higher than the Esespheris and it cannot be Islapchus in the world where there's Orla, it has to be Dafke Ba'id and Dafke through Abris. This is Pshat, what the Gemara says in Tzemach Tzedek. It says you have to wait 8 days, Kedei Sheyayvir all of Shabbos Achas, 7 days, including Shabbos. Then you have the Bris. First, you need Shabbos, the Gilui, the Serus, and the Leila, that's the Fiefus, the Sato, and then you have this Leila, what's much greater from Adam Kadmon. Says the Alter Rebbe further in the Maimer, it depends. Lichatchila, when Jews got the mitzvah of Milah, it was enough just to take off the thick foreskin. Then later they were told they also have to do the priya, the thin membrane that's under the orla. Why? Because it was a greater giloi. So if it was a greater giloi, you had to take away the things that disturb it. But in Atzilus, the klippus can disturb Atzilus, because even in Atzilus there's klippus, like we said that Esau is zo the klippus Atzilus. That's why the Alter Rebbe explains how Avraham was a Novi even before the Bris, because he was a Merkova to Atzilus, and the fact that he had the foreskin didn't stop those Gilum. But in order that he should have Yisoi Da'ak, he had to do a Bris to take off the Orlo, that this very high Gila should be able to come into the world, and it's the 8th king Hadar, Yisoi Da'ak, there it doesn't say Vayomis. Those of us that state in the Yerushalmi in the Dorim, a very interesting thing. It says mitzvah is Shabbos molin has 2 vovim. It says Shabbos mitzvah is v'chukim with the 2 vovs to tell us that the mitzvah that Shabbos is greater than all the mitzvahs, and nevertheless Bris is greater than Shabbos and pushes away Shabbos. The Mendy says over there, Shalom in the Dorim says over there, like there's 2 queens, you don't know who's greater, but if someone pushes someone away, you know that he's greater. Because through Bris comes down in Malchus from a higher level from Yisoidak. This is Pshat in the Gemara in the Dorim Gedei, lo Mila shenichrasu aleo, Shleish Esrei Bris, the Gemara says that Bris is greater than Torah. State only has 3 brisas, one by Hasina, one in Eved Ayad, and one in Arvei Shmeyev. But Bris has 13 brisas, and the Mikdash Melech from the Ramak and Pasha Pinchas said, because it's coming from Yesod Arich Ampin, that has 13 Tikunei Dikne, which is Yigim Misadachamim, much higher than Chochmah Meichin the Abon, it's Mamshech in Malchus. So you know that the Matronisa, the queen of Milah, is greater. Continues further. Siv Gimel. I think this goes for the next part. No. This is sorry. Let's continue further. Sorry. It says further in the Maimer. This is Pshat in Tikunei Zeyar. Amon Mo Tamon Notzach. All the Eidish Shalyanim come from the Hidak. Higher than the Hileis Machshavet Tvisbe, there's no Giluyim. Not like the other Partsufim. Where Zayin Tachtein is the Atik. From them come Giluyim in Abba Vanim and Chochman Bin. This is what he says. Abba Vitalia Bechesed. Imov and Binas totally in Gvura Darichampi. Because it says that Abba V'Imo get the hands of Arichampi. But Ak, they only get Nehi. This is Pshat in the Kunizeyah. Tamon Notzach. Tamon Notzach means that we're talking Netzach Da'ak. And Netzach Da'ak, in it is Chesed, because Chesed, Netzach is a branch of Chesed. And Netzach allows Chesed to come. Like he explains, there's three things. Chachan, Chochma, Chesed, Netzach. And he explains Barichas that the idea of Netzach is the idea of Akshonis. That this is what will be. So this is Pshat. The Tamon and Netzach, you have the Gilui of Netzach of Ak. First they have to have Mol, the Gilui, the Seid of Ak, and you have to have the breeze. Even though Netzach is the lowest madriga, but it comes from a very high madriga, is so its source is very hot. It says on the pasuk, Moshe Rabbeinu asked, "Today, Mr. should forgive Kol Yisrael Kam Kshe Erefu. You should forgive them because they're akshonim. The pshat is Yidden have Kshe Erev, they have akshonis. No one can push them away from their connection to the Rebbe Shalom in Adas. Dog they're out to Rebbe the Maimen. That's why a kid starts walking after he's fully developed, he understands. After he finishes nursing, even though he could understand and he could talk a little, he doesn't start walking. That comes from Netzach. That takes the full development to have that akshonis to be able to walk. He says, Tzemach Tzedek says in a Maimed, elsewhere it's explained that Netzach comes from greatness. You have to have greatness. That's why you have nitzochen, and you want to do exactly what you want to do. It should be good. Those are and should be the day notzach. He should win. Someone who doesn't have a self-esteem, skoton be'enov, doesn't have nitzochen, he right away gives in. This is what explains the Tzemach Tzedek. This is in the stand of Avodas Hashem, that in order to have kshay eref against each other, wants to make him sin. Has to be the gadlus for the you have to have a healthy self-esteem. God don't know how great you are. And your shami is for saving kol almin. Like it says, so therefore, in order to have this strength, it comes from a very high source, even though it's netzach. This is what it says when the Rebbe took away the kingdom from Shaul HaMelech and gave it over to David. So he told him, Netzach Yisrael le'yishakir ki le'odamu, because Netzach comes from le'odam, higher than Ishtalshlus, and that's where the kingship of David comes from le'odam. It's explained elsewhere, V'anetzach zu Yerushalayim, Yerushalayim is Yerushalayim, to have Yerushalayim, complete Yerushalayim, you need a Netzach. And this is what it says. Also, the Tzemach Tzedek brings what it says in Shir HaShirim in Medrash. On the Posik, Im Chemo, that his words are like a Chemo. You could build on it Yerushalayim, Yerushalayim. Tamon Mol, Tamon Notzach. In order to be a Bichemo, in order to build the world, you need to have the bris. You need to have the total devotion to the Rebbeinu, and you need to have the Netzach, which is the Yesod Ak. Till here is the footnote of the Tzemach Tzedek. Use further, this will understand what it says in the Medrash. So Rabbi continues what it says in the Medrash that Apikoidis, that's Rabbi Akiva. If the Eibishter is Shabbos observant, he shouldn't have any winds, he shouldn't have any rain, he shouldn't make grass grow on Shabbos. And then Rabbi Akiva answered him, if there's an Erev, you don't need an Erev if it's one Rishus in the whole world is Hashem's domain. You have to understand Pshat in that Medrash. This is an answer for carrying, but not for making rain and making it grow. So he says, based on what we said before, we could understand it. All the aliyahs are pnimi Yisrael. When you say Shabbos, the world is elevated. It doesn't mean the physical world, meaning you still see a normal globe. Nothing changes. So the answer is given in Chassidus that only the ruchnis of the world is elevated, not the chitzenius. That's when normal people can't see a difference. The holy Yerushalayim was once learning the Gemara with his teacher. If someone goes, the Gemara says, if someone goes on a trip and he doesn't know which day is Shabbos, he counts 6 days, and the 7th day is like Shabbos, a long Gemara. So he asked his teacher, how could you forget it, Shabbos? You see that the water, the river goes totally different than Shabbos. Normal people cannot see it. So the question is, if the Pnimis Achayis goes away, goes up to the Eibishter, how does the Chitzenius live? The Pnimis left it. So he answers, you have to know all the Partsufim, all the spheres come one level, another level. But it says, Ragli ak arnasia. That ak comes down very low. And kachashecha ka'oira. It could come down anywhere because it's so great. So when you're talking about the pnimi, which in a way is on a lower level, there it depends what keli it has. The brain is a keli for seichel, but ag could be everywhere. And this gives chayes to the chitzenius eilumis on Shabbos. Just like skin. There's no difference between the skin on the head or the skin on the foot. It's skin. Skin is skin. Difference is only primis achayis, that in the head is the moichi. So that's why the aliyah is in the pnimi is to be chochmo bina. But the chitzenius of the world still stays because it receives from very high, from seviv kolam, like it's explained in my morim and purim yovilu v'shmalchus. Gashmi comes from seviv. That's why seviv could be everywhere. That's why the world still exists. This is what Rabbi Akiva answered him, that the whole world is his. Meaning that there's no elevation from another elevation like in the Pnimi is, but Ak is everywhere, the whole world is his. And kachashecha ko'ira. We still have to understand, how does this explain? He asked the Shail, but the answer, Rabbi Akiva da kol elam shalehu. How does that answer rain? So he answers that chitzenius ak, that gives the level, the highest to the world, and it's infinite, and it could still come down to the world. So, l'chayre pshat is that the whole idea of Shabbos, which is Aliyas Ha'elam, is only in the air Pnimi, not in Eir HaSeviv. That's where the world still exists. Because the Eir HaSeviv did not leave it. The Chakashecha Koiro. Says the Rebbe right away, this is Chitzeni Yisak, that it could be everywhere, but Pnimi Yisak, the orla, the foreskin, doesn't allow it to be Nizgala. It's also explained, the Tzemach Tzedek gives another footnote. It's explained regarding the inyan of Avodim Ayinu Lepare. Pare is Erev Da'ari Champin. In the Chitzeni is you say Kachashecho Kairo. That's why Pare could be Shelet and Klal Yisrael. In the Chitzeni is Amakiv, but Pnimi is Amakiv. Yoir Hashem Pono Velecho. There's a Shayches Dafke to Klal Yisrael, and you can't have Avodim Ayinu Lepare. Look also in the Maime, Yoviu Levush Malchus, this is Levush Malchus, and Keser Malchus in the Pnimius. There's a special Shaykhs to call Yisrael. This is the answer why Milah is Deiches Shabbos, because all the malachas that he does by Milah, he makes a kot, and he does Metzitz, is not a malacha for the Ak, because it's Bashvo Achas Kol Elam Shalehu. There's no problem for Ak, just like Ak gives life to the world even after Aliyah say Lomeis. You could do those malachas for Ak to reveal the eighth king, and all the malachas are bottled because there's no Aliyah, there's no Yerida when you're talking about that level. This is Pshat also in the Gemara in the second chapter of Erechim. Yehuda says that the flute of the Beis Hamikdash had 7 strings. As it says, save us moches esponech al tikas save el sheva yemei samashech will be 8. The Masho over there in the Gemara Erechim said sheva nimin all the kedushas are sheva like Shabbos, but yemei samashech will be 8. As from there is chedus. Also pshat in the Gemara Erechim because kine the Gemara it says in Tikkun Zehar. Kine is Chovov Ne. Chovov is the Rebbe Shem Avaya. Chovov Ne shines. Shem Avaya, what does it mean Shem Avaya shines? Be understood with what we learned before in the Maimonides from Chanukah and the Maimonides Miketz. Atoneri Hashem Shem Avaya shines in the Shem of a person. And the Pasuk says Vaya Gia Choshki. It says over there there's 2 times Avaya. And Pasuk time it begavayu, meaning there's a trop in the middle, they're separate from each other. So the kin of Shiva Nimin is the first Avaya. That's why it's Sheva Nimin. For the 7 Shviris, L'chasha Magdula Vagvura, but Limei Samashiach, we say Yaskla Dion Vinisi, you'll have the second Shem Avaya for the Yud Gimel with the Sarachim. This is what it says. You'll be greater than your parents. It'll be Shulshmeinanimi. You'll have this very high level, higher than the 7 midas, what are called Yemei Elam, but they'll be Yemei Kedem. This is what's also explained in the Maimon and Tereher. We learned Kedesh Lashem, that Kedesh Lamed is on the bottom and Avaya is on top. Shem Avaya Mumayla means it's Avaya, and that Isurusata doesn't get that. And that's the Gilui through the Bismini Dafki, and that's a Shmina Nimin. And this is also what's explained in Zeir Chelegimo Pasha Pinchos. It can also explain it to Kunei Zeir that says, Shminis is connecting the 4 letters of Yud Kei Vav Kei with the 4 letters of Shem Adne. Ihu benetach, Ihu beheid, and this of the Megala Amukis says Lamantzach al Shminis and the 8 days of Chanukah. What's the pshat? That Shminis is Yemechaber, the 8 days of Chanukah. are higher, the highest level. That's the connection of Shminit. You could say another oifen. It says by that it'll be read like it's written, not today. We know in general there is the kri and the ksiv. Ksiv is in the world of Almadis, Kasi Mahelen. Kri is what we understand. Osid love the helen will be nisgala with the gilu, everything will be begilu, even those stuff which is normally behelen. So now we say you can't read the Eibish's name the way it's written because there's a helen. And this is al Hashminis, the 4 letters Yud Kei Vav Kei, which we don't read, which are Ksiv and Helen, will be revealed in the Kri. And this is connected with the level of Bris. This is what it says in the 13 attributes of mercy. Vayikra Hashem Hashem is mamshech von avaya de'leila shekam dan avaya de'lisata. That up till now was psik time in big avaya. There was a trop in the middle, as you see here, a line between avaya, and now he connects them, and that's al hashminis shmei nonimim. When you connect both levels, the higher level of avaya and the lower level of avaya, it should speak fi shani nichtov ani nikra. That's a shmei. That's what it says. Mi alelonu hashamayim, this Rosh Tevis, Milah, and the Sefer Tevis Aravaya. What's connected the Rosh Tevis with the Sefer Tevis through doing the Milah and watching the Mitzvah Bris? You make Havaya the highest level of Hashem should be Begilu Gam Lamata. It's it. L'mantzach is connected with Kineh of Yemei Samashiach. They'll have 8 strings. Explains why Milah is Deicha Shabbos. Because Milah is higher than Atzilus. That's why that's where the 13 basis should give a Midas Harachamim. Atzilus, it's a diver, they're called diver, and it's Adam Kadman higher than Chochmah and everything.